at this.
Where are your daughters, Daddy? I know you're up there.
All back.
What you gonna do that for? Now I'm pissed.
No one's going to get anywhere near you.
You're dead.
We'll see.
If I die before I wake,
Welcome to the Blind Rage Podcast. This is Brandon Ford.
And this is Austin Tyler out of Provincetown, Massachusetts.
And this is Tony the Tiger, the Thunder from Down Under.
And this week, we are doing 1998's straight-to-video If I Die Before I Wake, starring Muse Watson and Stephanie Jones. A home invasion thriller before home invasion thrillers were in vogue. You notice that? This movie was ahead of its time.
I mean, today was the first day I saw this film, and I was honestly impressed. It had some really good elements going for it, and I'll go into more detail a little later in the film, but it was actually a pretty cool experience. This was a really good recommendation.
I only give good recommendations, don't you know that?
Remember that time we did Voodoo?
And you said you're not a good liar.
You can both rot in hell. Anyway, so before we get into the movie, I'm just going to get the plug quickly out of the way. I would like to encourage everybody to head on over to Amazon.com to check out my books in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle editions by typing in Brandon Ford. There you will also find my author page, which you can subscribe to in order to receive email notifications whenever I have a new release. If you prefer audiobooks, I have several titles available on audible.com. If you don't already, please follow me on Instagram at writer Brandon Ford, on both Twitter and Letterboxd at Brandon Ford. You can follow Tony on Letterboxd at Tony_the_bear. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, suggestions, criticisms, recommendations, feel free to email me directly at blindragepod81@gmail.com. Please don't forget to visit the official Blind Rage Podcast Facebook page to like and subscribe. Lastly, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Blind Rage Podcast on your preferred podcasting platform. Austin, you have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a lot of production, show work, support, and just fun, crazy activities out here in the beautiful Provincetown, Massachusetts, out on the east coast of the U.S. If you're interested in following me on social media, I don't know that there's a lot of nutritious content, but you can follow me on Instagram. That's going to be at BeauSpec. That's BeauSpec. And I feel like Tony has something to say next, yeah?
About what I'm doing? No, I don't have much. I have been watching movies, but are you finished with your plug?
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally done. That was the on to you, Tony.
Thank you. Well, if we're going to go into what we've been watching, I watched one movie that I've seen a long time ago that I quite like, called Inside Man. It's not a porno. It's got Clive Owen, and it's about a bank robbery. And Spike Lee. I quite enjoy it. And there was an Australian production called Gold with Zac Efron that I thought was quite fine. It's one of those movies where there is one character for a long portion of the movie on their own. But if you go through, if you give it a chance, you can get to the end, and it's a fine experience. It's not terrible, but not the best, but a good hour and a
Zac
half.
Efron in an Australian movie is boner soup.
Well, by the end of it, he does start representing a bit Freddy Krueger in the face, but
Oh.
he's stranded in the middle of the desert.
Oh.
So like
So it's a
anti-boner
Wolf
soup.
Creek. The Wolf Creek situation.
No,
Which is a movie that I can't believe I keep forgetting to do with you for some reason. I don't know why. We've gone this long without doing Wolf Creek
always happy to do it.
and the sequel. We're gonna have to do that.
I'd love to do Bad Boy Bubby, but I don't know if you'd want to watch it.
I have it, but it's I read the plot summary and it's a bit
It's not quite horror, but
no, but it's a little
you have to approach it with a certain mindset. I recommended it to Peaches Christ, actually. but they never got back to me.
Oh, she's a buddy of mine. I should tell her.
yeah.
Well,
I was
she
about to say
posted
Austin knows.
about movie recommendations, and I put that one up. But one person liked the comment. But yeah, it's a pretty unknown movie. So,
Well, give us a quick breakdown. What's it about?
well, it's filmed in my city for one thing, but it's about a guy called Bubby who's been locked in his house by his abusive mother. And then one day he realizes that she's been lying to him because she's been keeping him in the house by telling him that outside is poison. And after killing her and her boyfriend, he manages to escape and has to adjust to life outside. And so it's a very interesting story. It had I think like 30 different directors of photography because the movie maker made it over such a long period, and he decided to use different camera people for the different scenarios to give it a different feel for every part of the movie that it's in. But it's hard to describe, but give it a watch if you want.
And there's a
Sounds
murder of
interesting.
a stray cat.
The cat died by a vet. It wasn't a murder. It was put down like it was intended to
Well,
be
the cat
put down.
the cat was also a known racist, so we can feel a little bit better about that.
You're both going straight to hell.
Well, I don't support racism, so if a racist cat has to be put down, I can sleep at night.
Yes.
Tony gets very, very excited about movies that are filmed in Adelaide.
Well, we've got a very special we're strange lot here. So the movies that we make are quite unusual.
Provincetown's actually had a lot of focus lately. The newest season of American Horror Story takes place here.
Yes.
There's the show Hightown, which is kind of like a really long episode of Law and Order SVU, which is actually decent storytelling. I just love that in every single portrayal that you see of P-Town on the screen, they make it look like this huge place. And we're really just 2 1-mile roads next to the ocean.
Yeah.
It's really not a big city at all.
Although every time someone says P-Town, it makes me think of the Golden Girls with Pfeiffer.
I thought you were going to say O-Town.
No, Pfeiffer. I'll punch you in the face.
Oh. I actually was watching that one a couple days ago.
But there's one movie that I've been told I need to watch called Fucking Adelaide, which is apparently quite good, but
Oh,
I have yet to watch
I
it.
Careful.
bet it is.
If you go on to X Hamster, that's just a
Yeah.
performer named Adelaide. So
Yeah, but that's all of the stuff that I put up anyway, so.
hey, way to be popular.
You just reminded me of something. Are you either of you familiar with the 80s slasher movie Hide and Go Shriek?
No.
Why do I feel like I've heard of it? I can't recall any of it, but it sounds familiar.
Well, it has intentional gay undertones, unlike some movies that shall remain nameless.
Voodoo.
But it takes place in a furniture store where these group of kids who have just graduated high school decide that they're going to have a little party and lose their virginity, and of course there's a slasher in there. It's a really bad movie, but it's really fun.
At a furniture
And
store.
in a
Yeah,
furniture,
that's the
well,
first
one
place I
of
think
the
of to go have fun.
well, the furniture store is owned by the father of one of the kids, so he has access to it. Um, but anyway, it's directed by a guy named Skip Skolnick, who hasn't really directed many other movies. I think he did Frankenstein General Hospital right after Hide and Go Shriek, and that didn't do very well. And he's mostly worked in editing, and I think he did some sound, but he was he knew the creators of American Horror Story, and during the first season they were having some trouble getting some of the background noise out, like planes and shit, because it's supposed to be a barren wasteland. So they hired him to go in and remove all that stuff. I think he did it either for free or for a very, very low cost. And the show got nominated for an Emmy for sound design, and he accepted, and they were not happy because they said, you didn't do sound design, you did sound editing.
Oh, good
So
Lord.
he had to give the Emmy back, and then when he gave it back, American Horror Story fired him.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, not too good. But did you have any other movies that you wanted to share with us, Tony?
No.
No?
But thank you for asking.
I haven't seen anything. So I need to get on the bandwagon.
Have you guys have you come across a horror movie, and it's a real strange one, but I liked it a lot. It's called Spontaneous.
No.
What's it about?
So I found this on the Shudder app on Amazon Prime, and basically, it's a graduating senior class of high schoolers, and all of a sudden, and without warning and no explanation, kids in the class will suddenly just explode.
Oh no.
I've heard
And
of it.
we're
No, I
talking-
haven't seen it. Yeah.
And we're talking full on, like, disintegrate, blood everywhere. And the first several times it happens, it reads like a black comedy. You're like, all right, there's a tough day in homeroom. But as you get to know the class, you realize that all these kids really want is to make it to graduation day. And there are scenes where they're running as a group and they're terrified and kids are getting taken out. And I really pulled a metaphor for school shootings.
Oh, yeah.
But by the time that the film comes to its end, you're genuinely kind of moved, because the kids are not bad kids. They didn't do anything to have this happen to them. And there's just no rhyme or reason as to why they keep exploding.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting little one that got surprisingly thoughtful and emotional towards the middle.
Yeah.
I think it's the Super Crack.
Super crack.
You've never seen Frankenhooker?
Oh, my God.
Nope, I did not catch that one, unfortunately, believe it or not.
Well, that was all you were making me think of, because deranged doctor is trying to put his wife or his fiance back together after she has been killed by a crazed lawnmower. And
It happens.
he gets some hookers, and he changes his mind. He wasn't going to kill them, but they find the super crack and they smoke the super crack, and then they explode.
Okay.
And then he takes all of the pieces and he puts Elizabeth together. That's what he does.
See, I
And
was,
it's
I
one of
was reminded of the Belko experiment with the people blowing up.
Oh, you had to go there. Trauma.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, that movie fucked me up.
See, I thought it was a fun little romp, but no matter.
That is actually a movie that I had to watch in 2 different sittings because it was too intense for me. The first one was like, I can't do this anymore. This is too much. And especially when they had the scene where they had I don't remember what the song was, but it was a Spanish rendition of an American pop song, and it was like all happy and jovial, yet everybody's heads are exploding. Yeah, that one was not fun for me. Yet we're probably going to do a commentary for it at some point because we have to face our fears. Isn't that right, Tony? Wouldn't you agree?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy to hide from my fears. Put them in a little box and squash them.
But right now, we are going to watch If I Die Before I Wake. Like I said, this is a 1998 straight-to-video thriller released by Artisan, starring Muse Watson of I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I don't know where you can find it. The DVD is out of print, and I believe it's on YouTube in 3 different pieces. So I don't think you want to watch it there. But if you can find it and you want to watch along, please feel free to do so, or you can just listen to us do our commentary. All right, we are going to begin with a 3 count. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, play.
Now, who was she in I Know It Did Last Summer?
No, the main
Muse
bad
is a guy.
was the fisherman
Okay.
who just gargled. Do you know that?
I did. I did. Thank you for noting that.
That was unsettling.
Are you an Australian or a Wookiee?
Well, I'm on to
Or are you a woman or a wouse?
I'm on to the tequila, so that might be why.
What the fuck are
Attaboy.
you doing?
It's got a lot of ice in it, so it's very hot here today, so I'm needing to keep the fluids up.
You're not
I'm sorry,
supposed to
did you
drink in
just
the
try to
heat.
rationalize your drinking by saying it's got a lot of ice in it?
I can handle it.
Queen, come on. Jesus.
It's neat.
Oh my god.
No, so again, this movie I actually found kind of jarring. It had this 1970s exploitation feel to it, maybe not quite as gory, but it had an intensity and kind of a fury behind it where I was like, oh shit, I genuinely care about the well-being of this family.
Yeah. I think what it is when the screaming sounds more natural.
I'll give you that, absolutely.
And that happens with with the parents.
Yeah.
They're not trained to do the scream queen scream, so it sounds more realistic.
Well, to that point, one of my favorite performances of a terrified person was actually the little kid in Cujo.
Oh, okay.
I still can't hear that child scream without feeling upset because he just sounded so believably scared.
Yeah. See, I felt that similar way with the sister in The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh yeah, yep, absolutely.
So I saw this when it first came out on video in '98. It was a rental, and I liked it when I first saw it. I wasn't blown away by it, but I did enjoy it. I did buy it later, previously viewed from Blockbuster on VHS, but I never bought the DVD. But while I enjoyed it, I think my biggest qualm with it is that it's not really an ABC story. It's a B and then a C.
How do you
And
mean?
I always thought that there needed to be a prologue. There needed to be some scenes with the family interacting before all of this. Something in the day, the kids getting ready to go to school, something around the breakfast table, making plans. They say that the daughter is an athlete, her talking about practice, something like that. And then we get to the night where maybe they have plans for something else, and then it gets interrupted by the home invasion.
I mean,
I
I
thought,
definitely, I definitely see your point with that. I think maybe this film could even be ahead of its own time because, in the everywhere before recent horror, you had a story structure, you had a layout, you knew who they were, you knew how they were related. But when transposing genuine fear and horror into film and making it feel a little more real, it's something without explanation. So, you see that they're related, you see that they're a family, you see that things are peaceful, and you're just kind of in it. And so the lack of that A kind of actually entices me more because I don't have to spend that time getting to know these people and deciding whether or not I like them and deciding what I think their fate should be. We're in a peaceful, happy home. They're winding down for the night, and something horrible is happening now.
Yeah, I think that lack of formula jars you into the story straight away. And they do show a bit of background later on the videotape.
yeah, I think that's probably the most disturbing moment in the movie when the little girl puts that tape in.
And then when the guy is dancing with the little girl, I thought it was really...
Oh, that was skin crawly as hell.
yeah, that was almost like... It reminded me of Cape Fear. Almost the scene with De Niro and Juliette Lewis.
Oh, when she sucks his thumb.
Yeah. Where it was almost like he was trying to seduce her into the new family.
Oh,
It
he was
it
definitely
weird.
trying to
Yeah.
seduce her.
I know the guy in this movie, I mean.
Oh, seduce
well,
the little
you know,
girl. Well,
yeah.
well, yes, he was. Yes, he was trying to lure her into a sense of comfort so that he could do some unspeakable things to her later. But while I did have that issue with it, I don't think that it ruins the movie. And while I do see and understand and agree that certain horror films at certain times do benefit by the audience not knowing everything about either the characters or the villains, it doesn't work every time.
No. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
I mean, even here, I feel that she is far too on the ball too quickly to I mean, straight away she knows not to dangle the wire hangers.
Well, everybody should know that by now.
Thank you, Joan.
And while her performance isn't perfect, she does falter here and there. But all things considered, with the type of movie that this is, and the budget being as low as it probably was, and the production values being as low as they probably were, all things considered, I think she does very well.
Yeah.
They really, I don't know. I think the events were intense enough that I was already invested and wanting them to be okay, that I have a margin of error for her.
Yeah.
I think the moments where she really shines, though, are like the one when she gets one of the brothers and she's screaming, "How good a ride was my mother."
Oof.
That
Yeah.
part was intense. Um, but oh, I know what I was going to say. Another point that I wanted to make that I liked about this movie. This was '98, and this was a time when everybody was trying to copy Scream. And it wasn't just mainstream, it wasn't just Dimension, it was a lot of straight to video stuff. A lot of companies were trying to generate product quickly that capitalized on that same meta self aware type formula. And this one harkened back to, like you said, more like Last House on the Left, although not as intense. But and there really weren't. I think after The Strangers, really, which was 10 years after this, home invasion movies really weren't that common.
Well, and if you take a look at it, it could simply just be because of evolution in technology. You know, in '98, we were scared of somebody breaking into the house and busting a lock. Now we've got, Nest cameras, we've got alarms, and it can all be done through a smartphone. So you have to sort of evolve the genre to keep up with the times.
Yeah.
So after about The Strangers, one home invasion movie I really like, though, have you guys seen Hush on Netflix?
Mm-hmm.
Not me.
So Hush was fantastic because it was one of the earlier productions done by Mike Flanagan, who's now a heavyweight in the horror world.
Yeah.
And he made it specifically for the idea that he didn't like jump scares that relied on sound. So he actually made the lead character deaf, and she's dealing with a psychotic and wildly violent man trying to get her, but they never rely on sound to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tension all comes from it's the complete opposite. It's not what you hear; it's what the character does not hear.
Yeah, and it was brilliant. So I think along the lines of home invasions, that's a little on the newer end. But again, even that had its technological and sort of thinking about a handicap situation to refresh.
It modernized it, yeah. Although my favourite part in the movie Orphan was when the deaf girl was being chased around the house and she can't hear.
Oh, man.
Where the actual sound of the movie was brought down to nothingness.
They're actually they're working on a prequel for The Orphan right now.
Yes, yeah.
I think the only other really well-known, to an extent, a well-known home invasion movie that had come out around this time was Funny Games, and that was the original one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nightmare brought to film, that one.
That was in the top 5 that I sent you when I first met you, Brandon. But I know you don't really like that movie.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't like the remote control scene. I think that tarnishes the whole fucking movie because it's so stupid and it's so out of place.
Yeah, it's definitely a Deus Ex Machina situation where now, magically it's all better, and that is, it does feel like a cheat.
Oh, it's definitely a cheat. But I think that it's not a movie without its merits. There are some things that I enjoyed about it, but I saw the one with Naomi Watts, which is basically the same thing because it's a shot for shot, almost to the letter, with the same house and everything, remake of the Dutch version, or was it German? Dutch.
I thought it was in Austria, so I think it was German.
Oh, Austria, yeah, that's right. Well, yes, and that's probably why I responded to your message, because you didn't say, "Oh yeah, my favorite horror movies are fucking Friday the 13th and The Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream."
And if you're listening to this podcast right now, if those are your favorites, you're still a decent person.
Yes, you're
You
still a
get, you
decent
just get
person,
to
and
park in special places.
Oh God,
Yes,
no!
that-
Could you
no,
not?
I'm just joking.
no, it just.
I like
and
those movies.
I've done many a commentary for those movies, and I enjoy them. But if those are the first movies that come to mind when I say what are your favorite horror movies, all you're telling me is that your knowledge of horror is very, very limited.
Oh crap!
And
Did I pass that test?
I don't think you... Did you give me a list? No, I don't think you gave me a list. I think
It's a bell-shaped curve.
I was engaged immediately because of your enthusiasm for the podcast. I think you did. You might have mentioned a few, but you just were very into the idea, and you sent me a message that was an actual paragraph, as opposed to a solitary line or word, which is
Oh yeah, she's a talker.
sadly common.
But just to explain, in quick, while we're on this movie, to explain my like towards funny games was in the director's commentary on the genre in general, is that when we're watching this type of movie, we might suggest that we're rooting for the family, but in reality, we want the villains to hurt the family. Like, if we were to watch this with the belief that nothing bad will happen, then it's not enjoyable. Like, we're watching it with the intention of someone becoming in pain.
Well, that's you freak.
Yeah, I didn't want. Well. Okay,
I'm
let
watching
me.
it. I shouldn't say we. This isn't synecdoche.
I think. Okay, well, Tony
Kicks babies.
and me,
Okay, you have fun.
Tony and myself, we both have a particular fondness for movies that are driven by dialogue. And Funny Games is in the beginning, and I think that's what initially brings the viewer in. It's because this very odd interaction with these boys and this family, and you don't know where it's going to lead.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily want these boys to hurt the family, but I wasn't sure if they were going to, or if the family was going to hurt them. I didn't know where this was going. And that's what drew me in initially. And the whole thing with the egg, that was just weird.
Yeah, but that I actually struggled to get past that scene. That's why I haven't watched it again. So I hate the egg scene, and that's just a nothing scene. But even what you're saying there is that you're expecting someone to become a victim. So you're watching
Well,
that with
if
that
I'm,
expectation.
because I know what kind of movie I'm watching, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, enough about funny games. We're watching.
Yes, we're watching If I Die Before I
And
Wake.
may I say, I enjoy this movie very much. The one thing I hate about it is its title. I just hate its title.
Why is that?
Well,
Because they don't even pray.
For one thing, they're not sleeping. But also, it's very generic and leads to nothing. It's
Well, I'll give you that it's a generic title, but it's the story begins when they're settling down to go to bed.
Well, bear in mind that the first screen that comes up, it's called General Productions. I don't think they were
yes.
terribly tied to this concept of making themselves stand out compared to others.
It might be. Might as well just say No Frills Production.
Hey, we made a movie. Want to watch? Go.
The brother's quite cute. I
Well, they
reckon,
got
by the way.
Muse Watson. Who? What?
I think the brother's quite cute.
Isn't you like 15, you fucking freak?
He's playing... Because, look, she's clearly not 16 years old.
Yeah, and I don't
I
think
think I think she was. If she wasn't, she was pretty close. This girl is not in her 20s.
Oh, I'd put her at like 22.
I don't. Well, granted.
Jesus, Mom, that haircut.
I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember her thinking that she actually looks the age that she's supposed to be playing.
I mean, she looks natural. She doesn't look made up to look like a teenager. She looks like a very real person. But just in terms of age, to me, she reads early 20s, minimal makeup. But can we get back to the mother's haircut? Why, of all the people in that family, why does she have the bowl cut?
Tony, you want to take this one?
I think it would have worked better in rollers. It really, the cut ages her, and I felt like the mother and father looked very old for the age of the kids.
Scenes like
she
this,
started
though, I don't
enjoying
like. Oh God, I don't like these kinds of scenes though because now we're bordering on torture.
Yeah.
It may be torture light, but it's still torture.
Diet torture.
There you
BDSM.
go.
Bring the beer. We're going to go raping. Like, dude, come on.
And I think they could have invested more into why they were doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You know, if you're breaking into a home, you need to have a plan, a way to secure people, a way to
They don't seem to be
get
taking
the job
anything.
done with some surety that you can finish.
Yeah.
That's why I think it could have done with an A. There could have been a scene like, for example, maybe them in a van watching the kids go just off to school and, you know, making plans for what they're going to do that night. But
You know,
not giving too much away.
I would be with you on an A story on the part of the criminals.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily feel I need much background on the family, though. Like, their rooms, the setting, that first couple of shots kind of told me everything I needed to know.
I feel that establishing the family would just be lip service.
Well, and I like that
You know,
I
it's-
wasn't given a chance to decide, well, I like the girl, she should live. I don't like the boy, he should die. It's just sort of something horrible is in your presence. What you gonna do? And I think that's actually a very modern concept we see a lot more of
Yeah.
now.
I think like something that annoys me a lot with reality TV competition shows is where contestants need to have a sad backstory. I feel, and I think that that's what happens a lot in movies is that they'll create a backstory where there's a tension between the brother and the sister. There'll be some scene where they get into a fight, and then later she has to save him or whatever. It's like, why can't we just have a generic happy family that, like that's
What's
sort of
your-
my background. There was nothing in my background that was special, you know.
What's your favorite sad backstory that you can recall from reality TV?
Oh my God. How could you fucking...
I already know
one?
mine.
Oh, you go with yours.
Roxy Andrews crying about how she got left at a bus stop as a child.
That was a recent one, wasn't it?
No, that was years ago on Drag Race, but
Yes.
you know, in order to try to save her hide, she goes, I was left at a bus stop as a child. And I was like, girl, one, no, you weren't. And two, this is hilarious.
I remember when she started crying, and I thought, well, here it comes.
My mother left me and my kid sister at a bus stop. And like, it was proven to be factually incorrect.
Really?
Oh, yeah, she's full of it.
Just going purely on Drag Race. I don't like it when the tears come out when they're in the bottom two. Like it's, and as traumatic as it was, I was kind of glad when Blair St. Clair got sent home, despite having a bad backstory.
I'll give you that. I actually had a friend. So I was hosting. Mackenzie and I still host RuPaul's Drag Race. So we were hosting that particular episode, and a friend of mine goes, "God, I would do horrible things to Blair Sinclair," and that happened to be the episode that she got let go.
Yeah.
So right when she came out with the story, I slithered up to him and I go, "Still want to take Blair Sinclair for all she's worth?" And he just goes, "Go fuck yourself, dude."
It's all good when it's in your head.
Right?
I was burnt out on these elimination competition reality shows in like '05, and then I came back briefly when Elvira did hers in '07. And that was it. I didn't even give a shit about the Screen Queens one.
I enjoyed that one, though. That was a lot of fun.
Was that where they got the chance to be in one of the saws?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shawnee Smith was the host.
Oh, okay. How cute.
It was a fun show. I mean, it was hammy and silly and kind of dumb, but... Ooh,
That guy from
American
Slither.
Chat.
I saw one episode, yeah.
Nothing up here but fucking Moose Head and a bunch of crabs off. Where are you going?
Check on Mother Teresa. Might as well go.
She logged on to Welcome to American Chat.
How you doing?
That's cutting-edge technology, I'll have you know.
Couldn't have the rights for AOL. Always,
Which
like,
at
whenever
this
there's
time
scenes like
was-
this, I'm always reminded of a scary movie where she starts typing, "White girl in trouble." Straight away the police come.
Well, this scene is definitely influenced by Scream, for sure. Because she's trying to use the internet to get help. But why can't she pick up the phone? Isn't there a phone?
No, the
No,
guy
he
took
ripped it out. I don't mean to be a total jerk, but this girl, the little girl, she just looks like a bad kid. Like, she's got the face of a mean-natured child.
Yeah, you want a John Benet Ramsey, or is that it?
No. I mean, I don't want harm to come to her, but I feel like she would intentionally screw things up to get people killed in this scenario.
Oh, okay, yep.
Like, real strong in the face.
She would dob on someone as a lie. Like, Billy punched.
Do you remember that scene? What was it? It was Headless Horseman with Johnny Depp.
Oh, yeah.
Sleepy Hollow.
Yes.
She would be the girl to snap the stick to get the soldier's attention.
Oh, yeah. That's a good reference.
There is a distinct possibility that you've gone completely out of your mind.
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Oh, I'm counting on
It's
it.
that untreated syphilis.
I've made a brand of it. No, the chlamydia. It's those koala bears. I just,
Yes. Or that hugging.
Have you ever seen a wet koala bear?
Like excited.
No. Christ, no. No,
No,
wet
no.
is in a rainstorm.
Like
They are
in the rain.
horrific.
I don't tend to notice that. Like, I notice them more when it's dry. I used to have a lot of them when I lived in the hills.
Oh, God, no. Hard pass. Those things are creepy.
Oh, they're lovely. Oh, no, they're gorgeous.
I think that would be so... I don't even have a word for it. To be like walking down a road or something and just to look to my left and see a koala bear walking in time with me. I
No,
said
well,
bear. I know I did.
Whenever
koala
I've seen
just-
one crossing
But
the
they
road...
walk... They get down on all fours?
No, they're like a huge cat. Like I imagine like a morbidly obese cat with a limp. That's what it reminds me of when it's crossing.
It's like a really big possum.
Yeah. You can hold them in your arms. They're not huge.
Yeah, hard
You
pass.
shouldn't.
Nope. I don't mess with animals. I'm all set.
Well, they let you hold them at the zoo in Australia.
Yeah, and you get free pills with the visit.
They're good for colds.
Wait, so how many? There's 3 guys in this break-in?
Yes.
There's 3, but the one doesn't come until later.
Oh no, they're I think he's come in now. He walked in.
Dale, get in here. Look at this. Where the hell's the rest of these?
And he watches his brother sodomize this kid. I don't understand.
They've
And
got a-
he is
they've
the
got a
one
strange
who's-
rapport, yeah.
But he's the one who's supposed to have a moral high ground too.
Jesus.
No, I thought it was the dad that saw him sodomize. And
No.
then he gets all disgusted.
No.
Yeah.
No, the other one, the brother watches the one who's bald with the goatee rape the boy, and he calls him a freak, and then he says, "You watch, you ain't no better than me."
Yeah.
Muse Watson does ham it up a bit, I have to say. And it was, I remember when I Know What You Did Last Summer verse came out, seeing him in a bunch of stuff, and I just thought that was so odd because he does not have a movie star face. And just because you were in a movie that was quite successful doesn't mean you deserve all these roles necessarily.
Yeah, but then you get to ride on the cover from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
But who the fuck wants that? I stand by. The only reason to watch I Know What You Did Last Summer is to see Ryan Phillippe in the locker room. Thank you.
I don't know. The skinny pretty ones never did it for me. Like, congratulations, you can look down and see your junk and you're symmetrical. Here's a prize. Ugh.
He was that. I think that was when he was at his hottest. He was fucking shredded in that movie.
He didn't do much for me, but I didn't mind him in Cruel Intentions. I think because I liked him being a
He lost
bitchy.
all of his musculature in Cruel Intentions, and he was really twinky. That I didn't think. I mean, he was cute in that one, but I didn't really think he was hot in it. All of his definition was gone. I was like, oh, what happened to the six pack?
I don't know if you'd agree, but I think that Cruel Intentions to me had a kind of a campness, which
I think
mean-
that was intentional.
Every time the movie is brought up, all I can hear in my head is Secret Society. Secret Society.
All I
was that
hear
said?
is,
I remember Joshua Jackson. No, what was his name? Joshua Jackson
yeah,
being.
Was it Tori Spelling? It was somebody. No,
Sarah Michelle Gellar,
no. She was a
Selma
cheesy
Blair.
side character that was a dork.
Selma Blair.
Selma Blair. And they explained to her, sex is like a secret society. And she just starts singing it to herself.
Leave poor Selma Blair alone. She's going through enough.
I know. I'm not going after her. I just, whenever people mention Cruel Intentions, I think her chanting that and dancing around to herself. All right, moment of suspension, disbelief, failure. No shower head could hold that amount of weight.
Yes. From personal experience.
I don't want to get into it, but I didn't get the deposit back.
Jesus Christ, Billy, what the fuck are you doing? Huh?
Oh, that is, yes, the brother.
You're cutting him. You're cutting him.
Where was he cutting him?
You're one perverted motherfucker, you know that?
I think he raped him with the knife.
Oh, I never realized that.
You watched. You ain't no better than me.
Yeah, because I feel like the way that dialogue was laid out, they had to navigate it very carefully.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you have to, like, look at the words closely, consider what can be inferred, but I think he actually sexually assaulted him with the knife.
But that's why I was a bit confused, because they said it was the best ride of my life. And I was like, oh, so...
Or maybe he was talking about the mother.
No, it was the dad that raped the mother.
Muse Watson? You mean aren't they all brothers? I think they're all brothers. The three of them.
Oh, okay, I apologize.
Muse Watson is just like 60 years older than the other two.
Yes.
Get him! Bam! Sucker. Cave of Scarlet. New nose, free of charge. Schmack, schmack, schmack.
That I think I infinitely like a movie better if the victims aren't idiots.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, they framed it so that we actually give a damn about the entire family. And
Yeah.
I think that skipping right into it doesn't give us a chance to dislike them.
Yeah.
Even if the little girl has the face of a goblin.
Oh, for God's sake.
I'm sorry, she looks like she's going to start some shit.
She looks like she could handle a knife, yeah.
And she's grabbing a spiky fence.
Yes.
Like, she's good to party.
Like, maybe she organized it all.
Who's your daddy?
You think it was an inside job?
Yeah. She rang them up. She left the door unlocked.
My babies, don't hurt my babies.
And I guess by not establishing anything, you can't tell how far away the neighbors are. Because my first thought was, can't people hear them?
I know, because he crashed right through the door. That was how he
Yeah.
got in.
Well, at one point they did identify that they're somewhere in Ohio.
Yes.
And I think the state of Ohio has like 9 people living in it, so
Yeah, yeah.
that's complete BS, by the way.
Really? You had me going.
Listen,
Hey, Billy.
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh. You know, speaking of the little girl, if I were any of those actors, I think I would be very, very uptight about when she was on set for what was going on, and I would have to go out of my way to be nice to her so that she wouldn't be afraid of. But then she would have to be afraid of you. But at the same time, you don't want to traumatize this kid.
well, here's
So
you're bringing me to an interesting point. I think it was the meta Freddy Krueger horror movie where he came out of the film and became a real demon.
Mm-hmm.
The little boy, Nico, I think is his name.
Yeah.
He actually had no idea he was filming a horror movie until years after it released. They have these ways of convincing these kids. They tell them it's a game. You don't like this man. He's your naughty uncle, but you're smarter than him. And they have these ways of convincing these kids to convey these characters that they don't even know what the actual film is.
Okay, 2 things. First thing, you told that story on Troll 2.
Well, I'm just making sure.
And second thing is when Wes Craven was making that movie, I think I told Tony this story. When Wes Craven was making that movie, and he told this story in the Never Sleep Again documentary, John Hughes, who was Miko's father, was on set that day, and he said, "How's my son doing?" And Wes said, I don't know. I really can't get the performance that I really need out of him. I really need him to be believably terrified for this next scene, and it's just not working. And John said, all right, well, there's something that I can do, but I don't like to do it that often. But if you really
he'll do
need
it.
but if you really need me to do it, I'll do it. And Wes goes, okay. And John walked up to Miko and says, your mother's dead. And then turned around and walked away.
Oh, shit.
And Miko got a Happy Meal for that performance. Yay.
A Happy Meal? He needs a therapist.
Exactly.
It wasn't me that you told. It was, but it was on one of your other podcasts.
Now, I don't mean to go
I
on
just
a
thought it was... I thought it was so twisted the way Wes told that story in Never Sleep Again, and he had a big shit-eating grin on his face, like it was the funniest thing I ever heard in my life. I was like, yeah, a poor little kid got traumatized during the making of one of your movies. Laugh it up.
Well, something similar happened on Bambi.
1, he's dead. 2, he didn't do it to the kid. It was the kid's father that offered, so he's allowed to find it funny.
It was on his watch.
You're finding it funny.
I think it's hilarious.
Yes. I'm sure Miko finds it funny.
Oh, he's doing fine.
He's like a fucking college DJ or some shit.
I'm sure he's
I don't
living
think
his
he's
best
doing
life.
that fun. And as from what I know, he didn't have the best relationship with his parents, so he probably didn't get much money.
Well, after his mom died that many times?
But on a positive thing that came out of New Nightmare, and I probably told this story too because it's in New Nightmare or Never Sleep Again. The in the playground scene where he climbs that thing and he falls and Heather catches him and he says, God wanted to take me. Wes or John Hughes said to Wes, what are you going to do with this playground after you're done shooting the movie? And Wes was like, I don't know, take it to the dump. So John had paid for the whole playground to be taken to their house. So Miko had that playground in his backyard.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Something I've always wondered about is because there's a lot of child actors who are very good when they're children, like going by the but then they're not very good as adult actors. And I always wonder how, like, what direction they're given as children. Why can't they apply that to themselves as adults?
Well, it's a fair question to ask.
Is there just some sort of lack of self-consciousness that they have as a child that then gets inbuilt as you're an adult? Because you'd think that as the years go on, you get better at something, but there are those that don't.
But wasn't Drew Barrymore in rehab at like age 8?
Well, Brandon can
Like
take this
12. Yeah, it was like 12, 13.
So yeah, I mean, there's certain challenges that come with being a child actor.
one. Yeah. Actually, something I find the lowest of lows is drug dealers that that get onto child actors. Like, what type of like Edward
Animals.
Furlong and Drew Barrymore? It's like, Jesus, what you're offering these kids?
Well, Drew Barrymore said that that was her choice. Drew Barrymore said that like she was sneaking into clubs and drinking like half full champagne from that was left on tables. So she made a conscious choice herself, but there are doctors, and I remember Corey Haim talking about this during during one of his many I'm okay again specials. But he would go to a doctor and doctor would literally hand him like a giant bag of opiates, muscle relaxers, psychotropics, and say, just show up to my kid's birthday party this weekend for an hour.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
And that is commonplace with doctors in Beverly Hills.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, the opioid crisis out in Massachusetts is something pretty serious. And so I mean, maybe it still operates like that today, but because of how bad the opioid crisis got, I can tell you that there's way more rules, regulations, and monitoring going on with that stuff. So it kind of makes you wonder, you know, if Corey Haim had been born maybe 15 years later, would he still be here? Given that the lockdown of opioids happened.
Yeah.
This scene is fairly disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, you're going to get blood all over the couch.
That's the disturbing part, isn't it?
Right. Just make it real nice. Put some plastic on the couch.
Yeah.
Real classy like.
I live in a nice
a
house
Jewish
with
mother
plastic
again.
slip covers on the furniture.
It was very popular amongst the Croatians here to have the plastic tablecloths
Oh.
Get on board, brother.
on top of the macrame tablecloth.
On top of the macrame.
Keep
Well,
that
I
stuff
don't think that's the
fresh.
proper term, but the lacework tablecloth.
Can you imagine what like craft services must have been like on this film? Like in
No,
between
because
shots,
I don't
they
think
filmed-
there was craft services.
But like you know,
Somewhere.
they filmed this whole segment. It's like, all right, guys, break for lunch, and you're sitting there like enjoying macaroni and cheese with this child you just attacked with a knife, or this little girl that you just threatened to kill.
They can use the
If
ketchup
this-
from off the dad's face.
Well, like you said, this was done by what, generic fucking releasing or whatever. If this was an actual artisan film, I would be more prone to believe that there were craft services. But Artisan just distributed the movie. It wasn't theirs, and Artisan used to be. At this time, they were pretty big. And they were cranking shit out. And then Lionsgate came along, and it was bye-bye Artisan.
Oh, I do love me some Lionsgate though.
Oh, they've put out so much shit. So many other movies are just disposable. Especially a lot of the straight-to-video stuff that they did in the aughts. I remember when I used to go to Hollywood Video because my ex used to live like right down the street. So we used to go there all the time, and we used to rent stuff, and there were always endless Lionsgate movies in the new releases and in the previously viewed DVDs for sale.
Okay.
What's the matter with you? Is he queer bait or what?
I don't know. Ask your brother, dude.
He probably teased you all the time, huh? Yeah, I know about brothers. I got a couple of brothers. Of course, you already know that. You already played ball with my little brother. Yeah, one swing of the bat and crack, he's out of the ballpark.
Honestly, this
Well,
actor
I-
does get some credit for this whole scene to drag a guy around by his face while doing a monologue to a girl he can't see.
You know, sweetheart, I got a real thing for cheerleaders. Your mama was a cheerleader too. Unless she was rooting me on. Sis, boom, bah. Yeah, she was hooting and hollering.
Oh.
Yeah, that line is pretty brutal.
Something that I kept thinking was, imagine if the girl wasn't in the house and it's just he's screaming at nothing.
Sweet kitchen. Yeah, because the apple don't fall far from the tree. If you get my meaning.
This guy is reasonably horrifying.
A little spin. Mama liked it. Didn't
Well, he was the Gorton's fisherman.
You killed him on accident.
I remember when I Know What You Did Last Summer first came out, and I was talking, well, this was when I was younger and not as intelligent as I am today.
Less jaded.
And my tastes in horror was not as discerning. But I remember I wanted to see, I was talking about, I want to see I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I remember saying it to this kid who lived on the block who, let's just say, was not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Not the sharpest egg in the attic.
Hey, little girl.
I mean, he wasn't like,
Maybe we should just do what
you
we come here
know,
to do. This is what I plan to do.
Special needs.
No, he wasn't special needs, but he just was really not smart at all.
Yeah.
And I just remember him saying, "I bet you the killer is going to be the guy they end up hitting." And I was like, "No, they wouldn't do anything that stupid." Lo and behold.
And then your dreams were shattered.
He had street smarts.
The most obvious twist in the world. And the slow kid called it.
But you got to give it credit. It's marketed to teenagers and not explicitly horror-loving teenagers. It's supposed to scare teens and be that moralistic attack thing.
Yeah.
And so
the segue
you
into
don't
horror.
have, yeah, you don't have to. It's kind of, yeah, it's a gateway. You don't have to get all that deep, or it doesn't have to be a metaphorical statement on horrors of the world. Sometimes it's just a bunch of shitty kids getting cut up because they're idiots.
I remember Jennifer Love Hewitt saying, I think she did really well in both of those movies. She's a really good screamer. And I thought that she should have done more horror because I did think that she was good at it. But in interviews, I just remember her saying how emotionally exhausting it was to do both of those movies. And how draining it was by the end of the shoot. And that was after the first one, and I was surprised she did a sequel. And that's what one of many things that pisses me off about fucking dickheads like Siskel and Ebert, who are forever bashing the genre and the actors who put themselves through the ringer for these movies. I can't even imagine what it would be like to have to be in that mindset 12, 14, 16 hours a day just to get the right shot.
Well, and I've always had a fundamental problem with Siskel and Ebert because what films have they made? You know, what
Beyond the
stories
Valley
have
of the
they
Dolls.
told? It's all these things where it's like, you know what, you don't know what you're talking about. You are a story consumer. You are not a storyteller. And so if you don't know all that it takes to produce a story, to gather the moving parts, to get the companies together, to get the actors, to get the sites and all that, then what right do you have to say, oh, I didn't like it, it was stupid? Like, it's okay if something's not your taste, but you can't just not like it but having no reasonable basis for it instead of just... I always found it frustrating when they would bash things.
A lot of the time, too, they were wrong.
They were absolutely wrong.
I just remember all those clips of them saying when the slasher boom started that the slasher boom was the answer to women's liberation. And these filmmakers were trying to tell women, get back in your place. You belong in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant. How many 40-year-old career women did you see in these 1980s slasher movies getting killed?
Not a one.
They were teenage girls.
I don't know. I always have found that approach. So, when I found your original post in Queer Horror Freaks on Facebook, I was thrilled because it was an opportunity to talk about horror and focus on what works or what could work. Instead of all these kids, I mean, most of the people in these groups are 16 to 20. I didn't like it. It wasn't scary. Well, maybe it wasn't scary for you, but there's typically a valid story being told in almost every horror film. Except for Birdemic, Shock, and Terror, which never should have fucking happened.
Something that I wanted to, a show that I sort of had an idea for is a critic show where there's two critics. However, there's one who is a professional critic and the other person who is a fan of the movie. Because I think that if you have if you, let's say you have a dumb actioner like a Fast and the Furious or a Transformer, a critic may not like it, but people who like those movies might want to know if it's good, based on other people who like that type of movie. And especially the same with horror movies, is that critics might not like horror movies, but you want to know what your own kind thinks of the movie.
Well, I'm not going to a slasher movie looking for an Oscar performance.
Yeah.
And something I did notice with the rise and eventual fall of Siskel and Ebert is that they tried to mimic the moralistic standpoint of Americans during the era of horror movie growing and blooming into what it is.
Yeah.
So if it was a Disney film, it was wonderful. It was great because it supported families and the right life. And if it was remotely not that, it would get trashed.
Yeah.
And there's rare exceptions, of course, but again, I don't go to certain venues expecting a clean, beautiful time if that's not what the venue is.
Yeah. Like maybe they were being hired by, say, like the Disney style companies for their posters to have good reviews, and then they can't then be having good reviews for other movies that go against the Disney.
Oh, they were definitely being hired.
Oh, no doubt.
When they were big, every fucking movie coming out wanted that 2 thumbs up quote on their VHS box.
And now they're dead. So
what are you doing with those thumbs now?
I mean, if I had to lay down a guess as to what these guys' deal was, I would say they're probably extreme addicts looking for money or stuff to sell so they can get their next fix. Because their plan and approach, and even, the lack thereof, they show up in
just
this
slamming
house,
down the door, yeah.
They blow through the door.
I think that would... I'm sorry. I think it was partially that, but it was also partially they wanted a place to crash too. It was like they were indecisive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they blew into this with no plan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, let's see what we can get, but we could also stay here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I'm sort of getting into it now. I'm like, God, I hope she's okay.
Put a handbrake
I know
on
how
that.
this film's. I know how this film ends, and God, I'm like, oh God, be careful.
I mean, I wasn't sure. At one stage, I felt like he was yelling at, I think, the dad about how you stole from us or something. And so I thought, oh, was that going to lead to a reasoning? Or if it was just him ranting in general.
I think he was just...
I don't remember him saying you stole from us. Who?
I'll have to go over it again.
You keep saying the dad, and you're confusing me.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, the older guy, the older brother.
You stole from us? He said that to who?
To the father.
I don't remember that part.
I was going to say something, but I forgot. Oh, actually, that's one thing I didn't like. Is I don't in general in any horror movie when there's multiple victims that were like that they don't help each other when they're beating someone up. It's usually just a one-on-one.
Yeah, but see, I frequently have this kind of argument with people, especially when it comes to some stories that I've written where somebody was in jeopardy and there was somebody right there who didn't do anything to help. It's easy to say if I were in this position, I would do that, or this character should do this, but you really, if you're not a natural born homicidal maniac or somebody who doesn't thrive on hurting other people, you don't have that natural instinct to pick up a baseball bat or pick up a knife and do what needs to be done to say, unless it's your kid, then that's a different story.
Well, but in saying the mother doesn't help with anything, but she helps one of the killers.
Well, she is watching her family die one by one, so
yeah,
she's having a little bit of a rough go.
Yeah, there's trauma.
He is the neighbors, just by the way.
I would think it would be like a full-on surrealistic experience. Like what is happening? Like there has to be an extended period where they're wondering, is this a nightmare? Is this real? 'Cause
yeah, the shock factor. You go into shock when these things are happening.
Yeah, you don't think anything like this is really going to happen to you.
Oh, R.I.P. Lovely mullet.
It's got like Aiden from Sex and the City vibes.
Yeah, that was a mullet for the ages.
A mullet.
Oh no. If you say it with a French accent, it's classy.
Exactly. Everything sounds better with a French accent.
He looks like if Mama Fratelli from Goonies was a man.
Oh my god.
How dare you speak ill of Anne Ramsey?
I'm not speaking ill of her. I'm just saying.
Was she in Throw Mama Off the Train?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, she was.
Oh, that's what I was thinking as well. So.
And that's one
Wait,
of my
really?
favorite comedies ever. Yeah. You didn't know that was her?
No. You were thinking he looked like her?
Yeah.
Oh.
You come near that door and I'll cut TJ's head off.
You know what's crazy too? Throw Mama from the Train was like 2 years after the Goonies. And she looks like she aged about fucking 30.
I mean, she partied hard.
She wasn't. I'm not saying that she was. She was
took
an
all that
attractive
Goonie
woman
money.
in the Goonies, but in Throw Mama from the Train, she looked really old.
Yeah, she's out there, working the streets, working those poles. I mean, it ages you. There's a few
And I
months
just
she
love
was.
the scene. I love the moment when Danny DeVito hands her the soda with the poison in it, and you see all the fizz, the carbonation, and it's a close up as she puts it to her lips, and you see the full on white mustache. She didn't bother to wax. She was like, I don't care.
Lip hair, don't care.
I've seen that movie so many
Lip
fucking
hair,
times.
don't care. Really? Really, Tony?
That's a
in
drag
my
queen line
culture,
if I ever
they
heard
just
one.
bleach it.
But I've seen Throw Mama from the Train so many times ever since I was a little kid, and it's still funny. And it's namely because of her.
Sorry, TJ's gonna need a date.
TJ's dying.
I don't give a fuck. It's his fault.
Yeah, and these are some of her, this actress's best moments, I think.
Staring him down. The mother looks like a man here, but
TJ!
Would you stop it? Hasn't
That's
she been
not your
through enough?
mother. That's a man, baby.
you're my mother. You're my father.
I'm in control.
I heard Barbara Crampton make that joke. Oh, I got You're Next.
Oh, that's a fun one.
I haven't watched it yet, but I got the DVD from Netflix, and Barbara Crampton has a commentary on it, and she makes that joke.
Your Next is described as a horror movie made by horror people for horror people. And
yeah, I've heard a lot of good things.
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I hadn't seen it. I put off seeing it for so long because of the name. I just couldn't be bothered. And then when I watched it, I really enjoyed it.
Did he just have an "Oops, I lost my eye" kit handy?
Yes, he did.
I will never be that prepared for anything. Well, fortunately, she doesn't really have to worry. He's into guys.
Thank goodness he didn't have to wrap his jumper around his face.
And now he looks like Dennis Hopper from Waterworld.
Although that younger brother wouldn't be able to rape me.
You can't rape the willing.
It would be consent, yeah.
Yeah, is it assault if you're giggling?
And you're spreading your legs and arching your back.
No, lower.
What was that movie? Oh, Inside Man. Yeah, that one. Tanya Harding.
For me, Clive
You just got to put a
gives
comma
big dick
between
energy.
inside and man. Isn't that right, Tony?
Mm-hmm. Holding the man with my ass cheeks.
You kiss your beloved puppies with that mouth.
You should see
They
what
do
the
worse
dog
with their
be.
tongue, yeah.
Yep. I don't know why I'm saying this right now, so I just need you guys to bear with me. Would this movie not be hilarious if instead of the dialogue and the music, it just had the Benny Hill theme playing the whole time?
Oh, God.
Like, I don't think I could help but laugh.
You're terrible, Muriel.
Well, the fact is that the Benny Hill theme on
terrible.
anything is hysterical.
Well, that's like they say if you take the noise out of the Three Stooges, it's quite a violent show.
I'll have to give that a run.
I was watching The Three Stooges the other day, and for the first time in my life, they didn't play Three Blind Mice at the beginning. It was some other public domain song.
Twinkle, twinkle.
It was shit. Is it the Jack in the Box song?
Oh,
Paco's the Weasel. Yeah. What did you say, Tony? Your ice cream trucks play?
Green sleeves.
That is so weird.
I watched the movie Night Watch the other day again with Ewan McGregor, and I find it a bit creepy. It wasn't as good as I remembered it, but the killer in that likes to listen to This Old Man.
Oh, this old man, he had one.
Yeah, so while he's killing the women, he's playing that record
He
in the background.
played one. How dare you?
Oh, that's not cute.
Every time I hear that song, I think of Leprechaun when he kills the shop owner with the pogo stick.
Yes.
This old man, he played pogo on his lung.
Ah, yes.
Warwick Davis for the win.
I think the first Leprechaun is the only one worth watching. Part 2 is fun in moments, but the rest of them are god.
Yeah, no. I think my favorite Warwick Davis performance is when he and
Willow.
Ricky Gervais are sitting on a set of stairs, and Ricky had asked that Warwick wear a frog outfit, and you just see Ricky Gervais losing his mind, cracking up, looking at Warwick Davis as a little person in a frog outfit.
What was that for? For extras or for...
I think
shows?
Ricky Gervais was just bored.
Just for kicks? Okay.
It was absolutely hysterical. It's on YouTube. It's so dumb and so funny.
I'd fuck Ricky Gervais.
Excuse me while I get that sentence out of my head.
Well, he might not look as good as he did like 10 years ago, but
He does do a
used
lot
to
of
fill out
bathtub selfies.
Does he? He used to fill. I remember he used to fill out a black T-shirt quite nicely.
Are you just a sucker for accents?
Yes.
Is that really like... It could be a garbage can, and like as long as he has a nice accent, you're like, yeah, that'll work.
Probably. Well, my top 3 are Australian, English, and South African.
Okay.
So you like the colonies. And you said you don't mind New Zealand?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a difference between a Kiwi and an Aussie accent, but yeah, of course I like it.
I was worried for a second by this that it was going to be some weird twist that she was the killer. So I was happy that it wasn't. Because it was giving me high tension vibes the whole movie.
Oh, I'll give you that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I said that because it's like the same thing when when the home invasion begins, she has to make the bed and pretend like she wasn't there and blah blah blah.
I got you, bitch.
Stake it.
I spit on your face.
Then write it.
Oh, God. Hey, hi.
Jesus Christ. I remember I was listening to the Christmas episode not too long ago, and we did Midsummer, Austin, and I was talking about the really hot guy who does Full Frontal in it.
Yeah.
And I was asking that Tony and James described me, and I was like, yeah, just make sure you get all the ridges and everything. And Tony just had like this horrified reaction. It was like, oh my God. And I was just thinking, really? That's the line right there?
Yeah, you gotta get it how you can get it. You can't be mad at that.
Tony was horrified.
The penis ridges.
Yes. And he has no idea what's happening.
I didn't expect the word penis to be that funny with an Australian accent. The penis ridges.
The penis.
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 Say it with us. Brandon, do it.
Penis.
Penis.
Penis. This is an adult podcast with adults.
And then he was sucking on my penis.
And we talk about penis.
Oh, so I mean,
Corianne.
do you think
And we
she's going
talk
to sell
about
the
Corey
place?
Haim. What?
Sorry, what?
It's funny that you should say that because I was thinking about when I was watching this earlier about like what would happen to her after the fact, and it just kind of depressed me because I was thinking of her and her sister going into foster homes and shit.
Although the mother's still alive.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she was just real banged up.
Yeah. She's got another
Mackenzie-
child on the way.
Mackenzie and oh Jesus, God bless her. Haircut like that, yeah, she'd have to be pregnant. Mackenzie and I were talking about doing a series of just short film clips, where we actually embody characters from horror movies who were affected by the events, but not directly involved in the film.
Oh, okay.
So, like somebody who was also on the beach that day, the day Jaws attacked.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, but they were at the hot dog stand. It didn't only caught some of the story. It's meant to be comedic. Or
I heard this screaming, you know.
yeah, and it almost like the in the movie Drop Dead Gorgeous, the camera guy who gets interviewed about the food poisoning that the queens go through.
Mm.
He's like, oh, just fucking beauty queens blowing chunks everywhere. Whoa. And so to that sort of approach to, I lived in Springwood when Freddy Krueger was attacking. He didn't attack me, but all of a sudden all the teenagers just seemed to beat feet. And, you know,
the
with a
next
comedic
street
spin to
over,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, you know. Elm Street, I'm over on Oak.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to laugh, but I just keep thinking of the trailer with the when they show the choreographer who doesn't get out of the chair, and she's
Yes.
telling the one girl to lift her foot. She's like, "Lift her! I'm gonna shove my foot so far up your," and then it cuts to the light smacking the other girl in the head.
That is one. That's one of my favorite comedy movies ever. St. Paul pork products. I love them so much. I work here now.
What
Tony,
does Brittany
please-
Murphy say?
Yeah?
She's like, do you guys know that the Tard's pants are completely off?
Well, and that was, I think it was actually Amy Adams' first movie.
No, I think Psycho Beach Party was.
Oh, damn. Well,
No,
one of the
Psycho
first.
Beach Party was 2000.
Ah, damn it.
But yeah, that movie is holds a very special place in my heart. Took, I think, 25 years to reach a streaming service.
Oh, is that on stream? I have been aching
It's
to
on.
watch
It was on
again.
Tubi the last time I saw.
Yeah, I saw it on Hulu a while back.
That was a DVD that was in the $5 bin at Walmart all the time.
I felt like I committed a crime when I bought it for $5. That movie is too good for $5. But somehow we've gone through the murder of men in a household to Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yes.
And here we are.
There's a lot of fucking credits. Jesus. For a movie that's
Well-
like 76 minutes?
Well, they needed to fill out 5 minutes to make it a full length, I reckon.
Stop.
Well, they could have fucking filled it out with the A scene that I was talking about.
Well, maybe they could only afford one set.
Well, that and when most of the cast and crew were working for free, you damn well better credit them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you to everyone I know. It said it was made in 1996. The copyright.
Oh, wow. How about that?
But it's funny, just the way it looked on screen, it really gave me reminiscence of I Spit on Your Grave, Last House on the Left, maybe without the same hyper gore.
Yeah, yeah.
Or hyper violence, but
Yeah, but the topics were covered.
yeah.
Well, the fact that it had gay sodomy was quite
Yeah, you like
unexpected
that,
for me.
did you?
No, I just didn't expect it. I was, oh. No, I didn't enjoy it.
You were pleased. You were happy. Yeah.
Well, it's good to be
Like,
represented.
finally, a movie that speaks to me.
Oh, sweet Christmas. Now, how long was that film?
That was 76
minutes.
Yeah, 76.
Okay, because I'm looking at the recording now, and it's significantly shorter than the previous film.
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Well,
Wow.
how long has it been?
I'm at about hour 34 minutes right now, and the last one was a full 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't do a whole lot of talking at the beginning then.
No, I think we did a little bit.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that this movie is just so fucking short.
It happens.
Yes. Is there any movie you're looking forward to seeing?
Me?
Yeah. And Aiden. Austin. Sorry, I keep calling you Aiden. Sorry.
I've been called worse.
To seeing that's just coming out, or
Yeah.
No, not really.
I want to watch The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Yes, you said that last time we recorded too.
I've heard good things about it. People seem to like it. I feel like a little bit of a jackass, but have you seen or heard the ads for this new movie Moonfall?
Oh, I have seen picture ads for it.
It looks so dumb. I mean, it's got a big Hollywood cast, and apparently some sentient, monstrous being is big enough to knock the moon out of orbit into Earth. And so it's got...
Sounds like a fucking sci-fi movie.
Oh, yeah, no, it does. It is. I think I saw, God, a whole bunch of names.
Ronald, the guy who did Independence Day or something? You know, it's that type of
Yeah,
director. Yeah.
It looks like a cheesy-ass summer blockbuster film, and I don't know. I think in the last 3 years with Lock-Up and just general frustrations, I just want to see movies where the world kind of ends.
Did you watch Don't Look Up?
Oh, I loved it. That was filmed in Boston, about 2 hours from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine appears in one of the newsroom scenes.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
I heard Meryl Streep shows her boobies.
I thought it was hysterical. It was absolutely hysterical. It's a very dark comedy. It is a dark and bitter comedy.
Yeah.
And
what
Tony
I was saying,
is very dark and bitter.
Yes. I'm like coffee. I was saying to Brandon is that I realized to me it wasn't a satire, it was a parody. And it took me a minute to go, this is just recreating stuff that's actually happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, Meryl Streep essentially plays female Trump.
Mm.
She's got her kids haunting the White House. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I should have said that there are when we were doing the preliminary exchanges, and I said that there's one word that you don't use on this podcast, and that's the F word.
There's a second word, and it starts with T.
There should have been another one.
You've used the F word.
The gay one.
Oh, okay.
No, but it's very much so Don't Look Up plays with this really interesting concept where it's only a half step to the left away from reality, and that's what makes it both hilarious and super uncomfortable. And Meryl Streep did an amazing job.
It's not subtle, and I think that's what took people aback, is that they're expecting some subtlety, but I think that made it all the better, is that why be subtle when it's so necessary to show how stupid people are being.
And we're you know, at a metaphorical level, we're watching all this stuff happen live in front of us.
Yeah.
You know, swap out a killer asteroid for a killer pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, switch out the previous person that was so-called president and have it played by Meryl Streep, and she does a wonderful job of embodying that arrogance.
I would vote for Meryl Streep. I mean, I would vote for Meryl Streep, not even the character that she played. I would vote for Meryl Streep.
Just Meryl Streep. Get to it.
I would vote for Madeline Ashton.
Oh my God. So do you know why, did you know Meryl Streep has had the same makeup artist for her entire career?
Really? No.
So it is the same head makeup artist her entire working career because this individual knows her face and everything about it so well that they and they alone are responsible for the chameleon traits that Meryl Streep is able to embody.
Okay.
Wow. That's interesting.
Oh, it's fascinating. And so, you know, she's, of course, a wonderful actress, but her ability to physically embody these people is based on the fact that it is one singular makeup artist responsible for the work.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's like
Makeup
those
artists
housewives
can
shows
work
where the
wonders.
girls bring their own makeup artist all the time.
Mhm.
I recently watched her in Postcards from the Edge, and I love seeing her in her older stuff as well. She's maintained her quality the entire time.
Have you read that book?
No. Is it good?
No.
Oh, really?
I didn't like it at all. It was like a book. I was like, what is this supposed to be? Because it was a book that was all over the fucking place.
Yeah, that's what they say in the movie trivia, is that the book's non-linear.
It's like, I remember thinking, okay, this is a book about a woman's relationship with her mother. Oh, no, it's about a girl going to rehab. And then, oh, no, it's about a relationship that falls apart with her husband. What? What is this?
Well,
And
I think it was
don't
just all
think
recollections, so...
I don't think it was intentional. I think it was that Carrie Fisher really just didn't know how to write a book or tell a story, rather.
Well, she's lived an exciting enough life that...
Well, I will say that the rehab scenes and the stuff about drugs were written very realistically and authentically. Because Carrie Fisher had drug problems.
Yes.
Ah.
But does Carrie Fisher deliver better as a stand-up? And
Well, she doesn't deliver anything. She's dead.
so she's,
Thank you for clarifying.
She's got a big underground following. Is that what you're saying?
Could you not?
Actually, a joke I saw the other day that I thought was funny and gave me a cackle is that how Michael Jackson looks the same now as he did in the Thriller video.
Oh, no.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure you told that same joke on the fucking podcast. Why are you both of you are recycling material? What is going on?
We're green, responsible individuals, which means recycling is in the now, Brandon.
Yes.
Why don't you go
burnt
kill a duck or
out?
something?
Austin, this is only your third episode. Are you burnt out already? Jesus Christ.
Oh, darling, I've been burnt out since age 8. I have not gotten cuter since then.
Oh, heavens to Betsy.
Tony
Oy, oy,
likes to
oy.
use old lady phrases.
Oh, it's that time of the evening,
Tish,
okay.
He says tish tosh all the time.
I do. That's my term. I'm proud of my tish tosh.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is that a euphemism?
no, it's like
No, it's just
how
Tony being an
now?
old lady.
Old lady Tony. I'm into it.
Mm-hmm.
Granny
So
Flaps.
does anybody... What about Flaps?
No, that's the name of a local. It's not a drag queen. It's a comedian who dresses up as an old lady and calls herself Granny Flaps.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm all set. That sounds heinous. Wait, flats is an FLATS or FLAPS?
Like what Milk Carton has.
Flaps. Yeah, that's disgusting. Yeah. All right, cool. Hard pass. God bless her.
That's your limit.
Yeah, Granny Flaps? No.
Yeah, me talking about the ridges of the actor's penis in Midsummer.
Yeah, but
Those were
because
Tony's
he's
limits.
uncut, so he wouldn't have ridges. It's all like
Well, you
encased
gotta-
in like a hoodie.
Well, when you pull the foreskin back, it's got ridges.
Yeah, but he's not going to be doing that as he's running.
God damn it.
All right, so listen, I don't know if this is speaking to my eating habits, but every time I hear ridges, I immediately think of Ruffles chips. So that's where I'm at.
Yep. And now I want to get laid. See, I don't associate ridges with penis. No.
With what?
With a with a cock. No.
Oh, my.
A penis ridge. Yeah, lost a little girl up on penis ridge.
Oh.
That ridgety penis.
And then the delirium set in.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I touched a penis, I thought or somebody else's penis. I had trouble believing that it was real because I'd only ever touched mine, and I was like, this feels kind of rubbery and weird. This is unusual. I felt like I was touching a dildo.
Okay. Yeah, but the difference between a dildo and a penis is there's the outer softness, and then you can feel there's an internal hardness when it's attached to a body.
Mm-hmm.
Not when I'm around. That shit's soft all the time. People can't stand me.
Oh, heavens to Betsy.
Another old lady term.
I'll punch you in the face if you if you keep this up.
Mr. Pfeiffer.
Have you ever heard
I was
the
also
song Pussy Town? Now I've got that song in my head.
Why do you keep using that word?
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're not a fan of
I don't like that word.
pussy.
No.
Now,
I'll say
fun
cunt
fact.
all day long.
Fun fact, if I were to make fun of you for being a scaredy cat or a wuss or calling you a pussy, do you know that actually has no connection to the word vagina whatsoever? When making fun of somebody,
so. Yeah, you're a pussy cat.
when making fun of somebody and deriding them by calling them a pussy, it's actually a contraction of the word pusillanimous, which basically translates to yellow bellied.
Oh, I thought it was a connection to scaredy cat.
No. It's actually pusillanimous. So if you're referring to the body part, then yes, that's exactly what it is. But if I'm like, come on and do it, pussy, it's because I'm making fun of you for being a pusillanimous person.
Okay, that sounds like a dinosaur. And you shouldn't be calling anybody a pussy if you're in your late 30s. Because that's just inappropriate.
No. It's you got to keep the language fresh and confusing to stay interesting.
Well, we're reusing the old languages.
We're taking it back.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, one of my favorites
by
is
Nelly
Mackenzie.
Furtado.
Yeah, one of my favorites is Mackenzie will walk in a full head to toe look, makeup, hair, heels, dress, and all that stuff. And I'll look at her and go, "Who's that guy?"
My thing, whenever someone
you.
tells me they went to the hairdressers, I'll ask if they were open.
You're both awful people. See, and this is why I said that you were going to get along famously. Didn't I say that?
That's all just barbs and trading. It's a good time.
Because you're both evil.
We like to look at it as thrilling.
Yes.
Evil bitches.
Oh, we're doing it with a smile, so...
Yeah, I mean, we're giggling at the joke, so that makes it cute.
I'm not going to go get myself all dolled up and slip my wrists or anything.
Please don't. We need you for more episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, did I tell you, not that I'm going to do anything with it, Austin, but did I tell you my drag name? It was something that I made up years ago and I just completely forgot about it. And I was like, oh yeah, I made that up.
And what's that?
My drag name is Temp to Perm.
Wait, what?
Temp to Perm.
Temp to Perm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm into it.
I still reckon you should go for Felicia Silverstone.
But do you get it?
Temp
That's
to
a good
perm.
one. I like it. But do you get it, Austin?
Temp to perm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get there, and I'm not quite making the connection.
You never read a classified for a job, positions temporary to permanent?
Get the hell
or
out of
temp
here.
to
Are you?
perm?
That's fantastic.
But in my spelling, it's TEMPTAPERM. And of
Oh,
course, I'd
that's
have to have a crazy perm.
That's cute. I like that a lot. My drag name, if and when she happens, is, and I can't do a German accent to save my life, but I want to go as Frau Meldehyde.
Ah, yes.
So that'd be my little twist on it. But yeah. How about you, Tony? You got a drag name?
No. No, whenever people
Yes,
say,
you-
I just, well,
He
what was it?
He's facetious Silverstone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
He
cute.
used to
I like that.
He used to just be facetious, but then I thought I'll just add the Silverstone.
No, I have no problem
Oh,
with
no,
that. That's
facetious
cute.
rhinestone. That's what it was, yeah.
No,
Well, we
I
have
don't
Barbara
like that.
Street Sand up here, so they exist.
Oh.
Well, I must say, it's been lovely doing these podcasts with you and getting to know you.
Yeah, this has been a scream, guys. Thank you so much for bringing me in.
Absolutely. And unless you have any final thoughts on the movie or whatever, or
Austin, did you want to go first?
Oh, final thoughts on the movie? Honestly, I did really like this one. Yeah, there were some campy moments, and I don't necessarily love that the father and the son died. I think they could have gotten away with beating the hell out of them, but the bad guy is dying. But overall, I mean, given the date, its concept, when it was released, it's a really solid film. I think this was a really great suggestion, Brandon. So thank you.
very
Yes,
nice.
and I second that opinion. It was a good experience. I liked that it wasn't longer. I think that when a movie tries to pad out, it can be made worse for it. So it was a good running time. It made it taut, and I got along with the the family.
Taut for the tiger.
Yes.
say taut again.
Taut.
Are you hearing twat?
No, I'm just hearing taut.
Taut.
Are you making fun of my accent?
It was a taut
No.
penis.
Oh.
You've taught me never to trust Americans.
Well, we taught you well.
All right, you guys. So I think we're all a little bit punchy, so we should probably wrap this one up. I want to say thank you to Austin and
Thank
thank
you.
you to Tony.
Merci beaucoup.
And thank you to everybody for listening. I hope you'll come back. Both you guys. And until next time, this is Brandon Ford wishing you all unpleasant dreams.